Top Lobster Productions.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise Daisy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Judge Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Judge Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Welcome, Tyler Yonke, LPR. We're doing a legal Wednesday. Let's get ready for legal. my back is killing me. I don't understand what's going on. I'm getting older than. Let's make sure everything's flowing out there. We've got YouTube going just fine. That looks good. Shut up there. Okay, I've even got Substack going, Rumble's going. I think we're a hit. We are a hit. Balls in her court. Yes. Yes, it is. Welcome, everybody. Tyler Yonke, LPR, Wednesday, legal stuff. There was some news that came out this week, so I decided to take a look at it and say, hey, let's dig into this. Let's get a grip on, I don't know, ball references here. And then I heard Candace Owens. By the way, I check her every day because she says some crazy shit and then she says some good stuff, and then people freak out. So I'm just here for it all. I'm here for everything. Let's see. This is the Rumble. I think we got that one going. Okay. Candace Owens. So I thought we'd break this down and possibly walk through the actual complaint itself. But here's the news. Okay, so if you don't know, Candace Owens does this whole, what does she do? This whole documentary, so to speak, on Brigette Macron, okay? The French president's, maybe we do it this way, the French president's quote-unquote wife, okay? And basically comes out and says a lot of it that goes into this. She relies heavily on this book, some of these French reporters that were sued at one point. Okay, so she relies heavily on them, and then basically the thing is that Macron is a man. Okay. The evidence is just a 4-hour for trying to parallel park. Yeah, I saw someone also putting says she's gonna photo. It shows evidence, and it's just the rims of her car just beat the fuck up. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do, right? Can you throw a baseball without anyway? All kinds of fun things you can do to mock this. But the reality is, from a legal perspective, Macron's filed for defamation in Delaware. Okay, now Delaware is not a great state for all this. Right here, let's put the chat up here. Evidently, it's not a great state for this because it's very liberal. But that's where Candace is incorporated, so that's where they did it. And some people are like, "Hey, foreign persons could sue." Yeah, because the person that they're saying that harmed them is here in the United States. So, we afford that. We afford that to other. Anyway, so it's in Delaware. She's suing for defamation. Now, Candace replied to this this little post out here. The news is doing now, saying Macron and I am wife go present scientific evidence. I don't know what this is, a really weird BBC thing, to U.S. court to prove, say Bridgette, nah, woman lawyer talk. What the fuck is going on with this? Can you see this? This is the BBC. Oh, it's in Pigeon. Why is it in Pigeon? Is this a goof? Now I feel okay. Well, there's a different one. Brigette Macron to offer court photographic evidence proving she is a woman. Okay. And then we'll read through one of these. Here's another one. Let's play a little clip here. See what this clip has to say. Hang on. Why is it not 1 speed? Oh, it's muted up here. Let's go. Let's try that again. Nope, still doesn't want to play it. Volume there. Make sure that you get. Oh, maybe you are getting it. Let's pause this because maybe I'm not getting it. Sometimes these things get set up wrong. I'm not getting it. Anybody? Let me know. Mic. That's the mic. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, it's not coming through. So I don't know what's going on with this this plane here, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. I wonder if is everything.
So we're all familiar with the Jimmy.
Okay, so that's working, but now it's giving me grief. So let me double check here. Browser reading, monitor off. Let's try that.
Kimmel saga.
Okay. So it's working. It's just not working. No audio. Yeah, you're not getting it. I'm not getting it, but that's fine. Let's go back to here. Okay, so let's go back to the browsers, and we're going to look this person. What evidence is being used in the Macron evidence case? I don't know. This is, for some reason, this is just not being played, so we're not going to do that one. Oh, shit. I just deleted the other one that I wanted to have here. Let's see here. I think it was a Daily Mail article. Complaint, BBC, photographic evidence, Breitbart. We got that one. The complaint. There's the BBC, Breitbart. Oh, that's Pigeon. I don't want the Pigeon one. I don't know. It's for whatever reason it's not come through. Anyway, let's try this. Photographic evidence. She is a woman. And what else? We already looked at that one. Then this article from AF Post says Candace Owens has rejected Brigette Macron's move to present photographic and scientific evidence that she is a woman, insisting the court-mandated discovery process does not allow Brigette to just submit evidence. Owens, who has been pushing the conspiracy theory for months that Brigette is the French president's biological father, went further, demanding that Brigette, quote, sit down and for an exam with an independent doctor and declaring, we're coming for her medical records. Okay. First of all, let's take a look at the war of the words, and actually read what Breitbart is saying here. I lost the other one. French First Lady Macron will present photographic evidence to U.S. court to prove she is a woman as part of her defamation lawsuit against Candace Owens. Ms. Macron and her husband, President Emmanuel Macron, filed suit in July over substantial reputational damage against Owens, addressing what they called repeated falsehoods that Ms. Macron is, in fact, secretly a man. We'll get to that, because is that actually what the lawsuit is stating? Owens has propagated unsubstantiated claims. The First Lady was born a male and used to go by the name Jean-Michel Trogneau, who in reality is Ms. Macron's older brother. Oh, in reality, okay. The conservative commentator hit back with the Macron legal action after it was filed, calling it an attempt to silence her and hide the truth. Yeah, you do have First Amendment rights to speak. But anyway, speaking to the BBC's Fame Under Fire podcast, the Macron's lawyer in the case, Tom Clare, said, Ms. Macron has found the claims incredibly upsetting, and they were a distraction to the French president. I don't want, by the way, if you're out there right now, just check and make sure that you have subscribed and that you like this stream, but subscribe so you get it, so you don't have to have me worrying about all this one. Because I'm hovering around 1,249 and it drops, and then it goes up to 50, 53, and then it drops. So I don't know what's going on, but come on, people. Now, let me also address, we had a members only stream on Monday, and we watched the documentary Defamation, which I actually really enjoyed. Now, it was supposed to be for subscribers only of Substack. The way that I stream out, it really has to go, they force you, because I use Rumble Studio actually, it forces you to put it to Rumble as well. So here is what, and then JC was in there chatting with me like, dude, this is impossible with Substack. So I am going to still subscribe to Substack. and we're going to put out, it was for subscribers only, we'll put out a link to Rumble when we do it, and then it's going to be to Rumble only and like unlisted. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. But you'll get that. It's just like Tower Gang stuff that we used to do. So you get an unlisted link. You'll be able to go there, and we're going to do some members only stuff. I want to one, have a community if some shit goes wrong. You know, look, Jimmy Kimmel just got fired and then rehired. And we used to have more concern about this during the COVID days. By the way, do I have a lot of sympathy for Jimmy Kimmel? No, especially when he says stuff like, let's see if I could, do I have it here? Yeah, here, let's play I'm sorry to deviate. We'll get back to the Macrons because it's important, but here you go.
More than 300% from a year ago. Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Okay, so if you remember the whole situation, the FCC is basically, look, we're going to come after you for misinformation. We had a misinformation overlord. They had nominated this lady. She was complete crackpot. This motherfucker wants to, ruin your lives. He's out there spouting misinformation, horse paste and all these other things. I want them to be able to say whatever they want. And we should be able to not, by the way, I think you should go check out Dave Smith's last podcast. He actually does a really good job of breaking all this down better than I would at this point. And I just think I have no sympathy for Jimmy Kimmel. He cried. Okay, give me a break. You're not sad. If you were sad about Charlie Kirk, you would have cried on stream the first time. I just don't care, and I'm not buying it. And plus, you're under the FCC. Sorry, there's a lot of things you may not like, but you don't just come on like this, like a podcast, and say, "Motherfucker, go f yourself." Right? I can say that, and I do. Okay. Remember we cried for not being able to afford health care for his sick. Nobody wants to see her. Okay, let's get back to this. It's a little different than what Kill needs. Could be. You're welcome, people. Rate Bridgette Snatch 1 to 10. Show dong. That's what I have here. First, French first woman shows dong. I think that's. Really what we're going to end up having in this case. Okay, so let's get back to reading this article. Which one was it? There we go. So here we go. So reading this article, she was really despondent and distracted to the French president. I don't want to suggest that it is somehow he has thrown him off his game, but just like anybody who is juggling a career and a family life as well, when your family is under attack, it wears on you. And he's not immune to that because he's the president of a country, he said. Yeah, so I'm sorry if this is what's really setting you off. This is why women shouldn't be president. Because if this is the kind of hormonal problems that you have and you have to deal with, I'm sorry, no offense if it's wrong or right, correct or not. But we've got issues going on that are a little bit more important than, Macron's husband / showing dong or not. That's a cool mixing board. Thank you. Let's go back to this Cam 2 over here. This is my Rodecaster Pro. This is one of the originals. It's got some sounds on it. Okay, so we could do that. A lot of air horn. Anyway, whatever. It's pretty good. It works just fine. And it's what I got going on. So a little behind the scenes going there. Okay, when asked if Macrons would be supplying pictures of Miss Macron pregnant and raising her children, Claire said they existed and would be presented in court where there are rules and standards. Okay, make me laugh even more. The case against Owens has been filed by the Macrons in the U.S. state of Delaware, as well as seeking to dispel transgenderism claims. The suit is also challenging the claim Macron is a product of a CIA mind control program, and he was statutorily raped as a youth and is now wife when he first met, and Macron was a teenager. Well, actually, yeah, she was like 38 and he was 14. They admit that in the lawsuit. That's statutory rape, even in France. That's statutory. Yeah. President Macron first spoke out last year. Now, look, I think Breitbart, you're reading this and I'm like, oh, this is like ABC News would do it. No, this is Breitbart. Sorry, let me share it up on screen there. I was doing a Jose thing. This is Breitbart. But why is Breitbart going out? Well, are they controlled? I mean, a lot of people dislike Candace, and I'm sorry I have to think about these things in this kind of terms, which is she may be right wing, but she's Candace, and she's Tucker types, right? We've got to hate them for the right reasons. Now, Breitbart used to be Ben Shapiro would talk about them being so much alt-right, really flamed up over there. Bannon, who is the gay Milo, right? It's just coming out incessant out there, and they're like, we're not part of the alt-right. What are you talking about? They mention the word Jew online all the time. Okay, so I don't know. Is Breitbart controlled? Perhaps. As Breitbart News reported in March 2024, Macron family decried the allegations as the same level as people who say the Earth is flat or have governed by reptiles. Okay, that reptile one. And President Macron himself called the idea false and fabricated, as well as frustrating. Yeah, I'm sure it is. He's like, I want an image of Miss Macron's birth announcement from April 13, 1953, a photograph of her as a child with her family, and a photo the day of her first wedding in 1974 were submitted as part of the defamation suit in July. Miss Macron, 72, was born Brigette Trogneau in the northern French city of Amiens. She has 3 children from a previous marriage. Okay, so it's interesting. Breitbart just, it's funny that they just allege that as facts. When those are what the alleged facts are, we have to, this is crazy. This is Pigeon. This is the BBC Pigeon. Emmanuel Macron and wife, Bridgette, they plan to present photographic and scientific evidence to one U.S. court to prove, say, Miss Macron, no woman. Now, that's unbelievable that they would write this in Pigeon. I'm baffled. Should I keep reading this? Miss Owens' lawyers done reply with motion to dismiss the claim. Speaking to BBC Fame Under Fire podcast, de Macron's dear lawyer for the case, Tom Clare, say Miss Macron find the claims incredibly upsetting and them be distraction to the president of French president. This is fucking crazy. Go fuck yourself, BBC. I'm sorry, Pigeon. What the hell? What do we got here? Okay, let's not get too distracted, because out of this comes Brigette Macron. Candace Owens with the comment from AF Post. Candace Owens has rejected Brigette Macron's move to present photographic and scientific evidence that she is a woman, insisting the court-mandated discovery process does not allow Brigette to just submit evidence. Owens, who has been pushing the conspiracy theory for months that Brigette is the French president's biological father, went further, demanding that Brigette sit down for an exam with an independent doctor and declaring, we're coming for her medical records. Now, this is what's fascinating to me. Okay, you've got all these news services out there, Twitter, everything going on here. Here's the Daily Mail one here. Same thing. She's gonna do all this stuff. Now, they say don't get too... Okay, in her latest statement to the Daily Mail, Owen said, this isn't France, where Brigitte and Macron get to do whatever they want. This is America. You don't skip discovery just because you're in a foreign world leader angry about a podcaster's First Amendment right. The court-mandated discovery process does not allow Brigitte to just submit evidence. We heard that already. The American court system isn't a kangaroo court where leaders can just say whatever they want. Now, good for her for pushing back, because that's what you've been seeing in the news is, oh, she's going to submit evidence. Oh, she's going to submit evidence. What do you think this is? They filed the suit. Candace gets a chance to respond. And then what? Macron just files in evidence and it's case closed. One, I believe they demanded jury trial. So we're going to have to go before a jury. If they submit evidence during discovery, or they could just make an offer and say, here's our proof. Now, Candace has to think about it. But what is this evidence? What is this evidence? Because as someone who's watched the series and whatnot, a picture of someone pregnant. There are pictures of this. This is what's fascinating. Okay, so hate Candace all you want, but there are many things, and maybe she's been duped here. But there are photos that the Macrons have put out that they show as evidence of things, and they are doctored, right? They found like Candace and this other guy, they found the originals, and like the one child that they say is her is not there. It's crazy stuff. Okay, so let's say I'm the attorney, and they submit a picture like that. I'm like, okay, no offense, but you with a frumpy shirt doesn't mean anything, right? here's what I'm going to do. You keep submitting pictures. I'm going to have to figure out if they're real or fake or not. You know what I'm going to do? We do this all the time, which is we're going to get an expert. The court's going to appoint an expert that we are out there to do. We're going to pay for him. And just like anything else, maybe it's a personal injury case. And so it's someone, my law partner does this all the time. And so they have an expert that, through the medical records, maybe it's the doctor that did them. And then maybe you get an independent expert to review the medical records or to examine, the person. Maybe it's a psychologist. We do this, get a psychiatrist or psychologist comes in there and evaluates the actual person, right? We've seen this with, you have a cell phone and you don't just say, here's our claim about it. It's like, okay, now our expert is going to examine this cell phone. Our expert is going to examine Ms. Macron. She brought the lawsuit. She brought all this before the court about who she is and what she is. So there you go. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to accept just her doctors saying this. You're going to get your own independent, and then you're going to have two conflicting. We saw Karen Reed, if you guys watched that. There was reconstruction experts, the ones that were hired first by the FBI that came out and did this and said this crash couldn't have happened. There are those. And then there's these other ones that were just lying up their asses that didn't really do any work that we saw. Anyway, so that's how that process can work. And then you can, if it goes to trial, then you present this, right? And now you're going to have to be able to authenticate photos. You're going to have to, and photos are what? I mean, what's better, a photo or maybe a DNA test? Hey, I'm going to take a swab from you and now I'm going to do a DNA test. That's really, really not invasive. Okay, so we've got that. Keep the pigeon going. Yeah, that's crazy shit. I picked one of those roadcasters for dirt cheap not long ago. Yeah, this was not cheap when I bought it because it was brand new. Now they have a version 2. But what happened with this one is, let's go to the cam here because it's maybe you guys like this kind of stuff. I bought this brand new, and then a few years after that, one of the plugs back here just disengaged and broke. So I contacted Rode, and they're like, "Oh, you're out of your 1-year warranty, so we're gonna have to send it in." So I mailed it in, and I think they charged me like mailing, like $20 or something like that. That's it, and they replaced it. So good for them. I've been really happy with them. We'll go Rode mic, Rodecaster. Yeah, solid stuff. Okay, so there you go. Now here's another thing Candace said in addition, which is she's like, look, she is trying to prove here with pictures and whatnot that she was never a man. Okay, that's the standard we have here. Yeah, blood test. Oh, sorry. Yeah, blood test. Did I say DNA test? Well, I don't know. You could get a blood test, whatever you can do. I'm not a doctor. I would refer to one to say, hey, figure out what you need to find out. We need a swab. You need a little blood prick, everything, whatever it is that you need to do to check this out. I don't believe that is going to be difficult. You have, parties die and they're able to determine, male, female, without looking at their bones and whatnot. Maybe it's an x-ray. Who knows? I mean, it's not so crazy because Candace is demanding that she do this. This lady, male, person, whomever, is demanding that Candace's claims are false. So you're going to have to put up or shut up at some point. It's blood. Come in this cup, Bridgette. Whip your dick out, bitch. We're comparing photos. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. What are the odds Macron's scientific evidence is some mumbo jumbo about how gender is fluid? Could be. Kike Bart was made in Israel. Well, there you go. Thanks for the Candace is based. Yeah, she's doing pretty good. Okay, let's get to, so Candace also said in her podcast the other day when they were talking about the Macron stuff, she goes, what's interesting is she wants to show this evidence that she's a woman, but her defamation claim doesn't say I defamed her for being a man. Okay. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I hadn't really looked at it. I just hear all the news. I watched Viva Fry and Barnes. Horrible to get through. And they hate Candace because she's anti-Zionist. So that's why they blocked me. That's why they blocked a bunch of people. I don't know what the reason is for liking Ricada, other than he's a degenerate and that kind of mixes in with, that is anti-Zionist. I mean, you could be an anti-Zionist and a degenerate, but if you're a Zionist, likely you're a degenerate. So that just all works in there. Okay, with that in mind, let's go through the actual lawsuit itself, the claim. What are the claims she's making? What are the defamation claims? Now, this is pretty intensive pleading here. Let's see here. It's actually, I want to say like 200 pages. So we're not going to go over the whole 200 pages. So you can see that over here in the thumbnail that it's like 200 pages in there. But what's interesting is, and if you guys want, I could put the link here. You can look at this claim all yourself. They demand a jury trial, demanded, okay, jury trial. So this whole thing about like, oh, we're just going to submit evidence. It's like, okay, hang on. It's got to be admissible evidence and you're going to have to wait for the jury. But maybe they'll ask you in discovery for all evidence that shows that you're not a man. And actually it would be this: show us evidence that you are, as you claim, a woman. Okay. So what's interesting here, she does in all the factual stuff, she makes, claims. She talks about Candace, because you've got to show a few things for defamation. One, that it's a statement, that it was made to more than one person. Okay. By the way, first thing you have to show is jurisdiction is right. So it's in Delaware. That's where she's incorporated. Statements were made there. Well, they're made everywhere. So you can get that part out of your, it's a statement made to another person. It could be repeated. So, by the way, we have that easy. It's been broadcast, right? It's in writing, or it's in, libel or slander. So spoken or written, either one works. It's a statement made. We can actually do the actual, because they don't break them out in here. So defamation elements, Delaware. Okay. Let's see if AI gives them to us. Okay, so a defamatory statement in Delaware must be false. Okay, mere opinions or unflattering remarks are not acceptable. The statement must be communicated to a third party, a requirement known as publication. We just talked about that. The plaintiff must demonstrate that the statement caused harm, which can include damage to reputation, loss of business, or material losses. Okay. Delaware recognizes 4 types of statutory statements defamatory per se, meaning they are inherently damaging and do not require proof of special damages. Okay, because a lot of times you're going to have to show special damages if it's and by the way, then there's additional standard for a public figure. But statements made imputing a crime of moral turpitude, loathsome disease, a specific misdoing affecting the person's trade or business, or unchastity. Now, if you're just saying this person has this sexually transmitted disease and they have it because they were sexually, promiscuous, and it's a false statement, that is per se. So in other words, that just on its face is defamatory. Otherwise, you have to show that it's defamatory. What's interesting in here, and Macrons have to be somewhat careful. Are you going to plead that calling someone a tran is because that's a protected class, right? You can't just say, oh, it's defamatory to claim that someone's a transvestite, okay, or a tranny, or whatever the technical word is. Because now, what are you going to anger your people? Now, your people don't care, okay? They are scumbags most likely anyway. For statements that are not defamatory per se, the plaintiff must plead and prove special damages, such as specific financial loss. So that will be an interesting part there as well. What is Miss Macron? Now, the lawsuit is coming from Emmanuel and Bridgette, so it's both of them. What's the financial loss that you're going to be suffering by? You're the president of France. Are you really missing out? Oh, I'm hurt. Okay, yeah. So emotional damage or reputation could be part of it. But come on, if they're I mean, these are specific arguments here you can make, which is, oh yeah, but if you're specifically saying that being a trans is like a lauded thing, and you have this ridiculous thing that you put out for the Olympics, right? Why is that damaging your reputation? You're now actually more protected, right? The Olympics of what do they call it? We're gender identity Olympics, or what identity politics that we have here that Ben Shapiro, rails against until it's his identity and then he's all for it. That could be a problem. You're saying that's good. You just went up a few steps. How's your reputation within that world, the world you care about your voters? How is that then? Okay. For statements that are not defamatory per se, must lead to prove, with specific financial loss. The statute of limitations for 2 years, Now, it doesn't say here, but if you are a public figure, then you have to show that there was actual malice involved. Part of that is, does Candace know? And she was reckless, disregard for the truth. This could be part of it. Let's see here. How about malice? Let's just throw the word malice in there and see what they say about that, because they're, this higher burden applies to public figures. Okay, the public figures standard is stricter, requiring proof of actual malice, meaning the statement was made with knowledge of its falsity or with reckless disregard for whether it was false. And that's where they're going to get her, if they do, is the recklessness, because she believes it's true. Okay. There you go. The Macron reputation is very bad in France without this story. Yeah. My lawyer uses AI. Somewhat, like as you can see here, I'm doing some things here. It's pretty good. AI is pretty good on pulling up elements. And as a matter of fact, I look here and it's like, I may not know them off the top of my head, but boom, it reminds me here. Sometimes I'll look for cases or family codes for specific, codes, civil procedure, family code, whatever it is, and it pulls it up. And then what I do is I go to the code. Okay. Then I'm like, oh yeah, like today I was doing by the way, settled the case, have a trial next week. It was going to be brutal. It was only set for 2 days and it was crazy. And opposing party had got rid of her fifth or so attorney. And I'm just like, I can't do another trial where someone doesn't have an attorney. It's a shit show. We resolved it. And I was trying to remember today when I was writing it out, I was like, is it family code 2630 or 2640 for reimbursements? And I did it 2640. So, AI works. But you can't, by the way, there's cases out there of hallucinations and, people citing it. I do not use AI to write my stuff. It is simply a task. It is I use it like Google in that regard. Although I had a settlement conference, and I saw actually the same attorney today, where he has all these prompts for Chat GPT, and we had a settlement, and then he has all these prompts he puts in, and it wrote up the settlement. Now, we reviewed it, and it's fine, and it didn't, we didn't include, weird case sightings or anything like that, because that's not what we were doing. Maybe he uses it more often and he trusts it. I don't know. I mean, you've got to, one of these cases I was just hearing about where one of these law firms, big law firms, they filed something, then the judge hit them hard on AI hallucinations, and it's not good. Okay, so let's get back to the pleading here. So in her pleading, she has all this kind of stuff. I mean, look, blood libel, Holocaust distortion. Okay, go. A lot of crazy stuff going on here. Parties and relevant non-parties. Now, there's a lot of things here about in the facts part that leads up to this, which you do need to set the scene for what you're actually going to be, the claims that, that you're bringing against the other party, the torts. Now, there's a lot of things in there like, oh, she claims she's a man and this and this and this. But does she claim in any of her, 20 some actual, she being Macron? I'm just going to do that for that. Is she actually, or here the Macrons, I'll just say that because it's both of them. Are they actually saying that Candace is claiming that she's a man? That is what's interesting about this claim, okay? This lawsuit. And by the way, there was a lawsuit over in France about some of these things that Macron lost, and then the one that she won, because this is how they go about it. It's not like, fine, let's just go right straight through it. You're calling me a man. I'm not a man. I'm a woman. Boom. There it is. Now, the way I'm reading it, I'm not sure, because Candace is saying they're not making the claim that I'm saying that she's a man. I'm like, okay, kind of. What they're doing is, and we'll read through some of these claims. Now, look at it. So here's the photos that she's included. This one, I think this one is, Candace found that this lamp over here on the original photo, it actually isn't there, and there's some other weird stuff. Anyway, it goes further. This is one of the craziest things. Alex Stein had a tweet that they included in here. I think Tim Dillon was referenced. listening to Barnes and Fry. Barnes says that he thinks that this is just a setup to go now after republication of these other, and I'm like, that's bullshit. That's not going to happen. I don't know where, I think his neck was too bloated and his tie was too tight. I don't see that happening. And good luck if that is the case. Okay, so there are some things though about the way Candace is, I'm calling it now Man of the Year, and she had merchandise. I mean, she went full in. What I have done that? No, I would not have done what she did, especially without, I mean, you just don't know. She did a lot of research. I'll say that. Okay. So I get it. Now, here's her evidence that she's actually, now, according to Candace, this was not actually the right person. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff that's crazy. I don't want to get into too much. Now, this is who she claims is this Trogno guy, her brother. And there's a lot of suspicion about that. Candace was using these AI things that would compare pictures. And it was like, these are not the same people from the youth to older. So I don't know. Oh, look, she's with her daughters. Okay. Did she give birth? I don't know. We'll find out maybe. Okay. What's hilarious is to show the defamation, they include all this stuff. Like she's calling this Emmanuel Macron. Brigitte Macron. So anyway, all these claims about, and because they've got to show the breadth of the accusations that it went, far and wide. So it's a lot going on. I mean, what I'm trying to get to is the actual first causes of action. Where did we miss one here? No, she released an 8-part series. There's just so much involved. I mean, they spent a lot of money drafting this shit up. I'll just tell you that. A lot of work going into this. Keep going. We're not reading that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just read these. I mean, yeah, that does look like her. I'm just going to read the cause of action, and not even all of them, but I want to get you kind of a hint of what we're looking for here. Okay, come on. Where are they? I should have bookmarked the page. Keep going. Just a lot of stuff they put into this. So good for them. This is not the work I want to do. Okay, we're at page 110. Count 2. Okay, so we just missed count 1. Count the one. The count. Count 1, defamation. Okay. Now they have multiple, and what they're going to do is they're going to list out taxpayer money. Yeah, right. They're going to list out the statement that was false and claim that it was false, and then talk about, what they're. Now there's multiple kinds of defamation or claims they can bring. One is defamation. One is false light. Defamation per se, per quad. These are different types, and so you typically have one statement, and then there's like 4 causes of action that use that same statement. Okay, and then they'll do another statement, 4 causes of action, and it goes, and then it's like Bridgette, and then it's like Macron, Emmanuel, and we'll keep going here. Okay. Defendants published the following false and defamatory statements on fact January 31, 2025 during the introduction episode of the series, which this is showing it's how it's been published, all these different places. The statement goes, Brigette Macron's alleged brother, who I believe Brigette Macron is, and guys, by the way, you should know there is this strange case of what happens to every journalist who tries to touch the story. First and foremost, Isabella Ferreira. I think I mentioned this on the past episode. People who began prodding into the story as an independent journalist happened upon some huge information pertaining to the relationship of Emmanuel Macron and Bridgette. But then she was found dead. She was found dead, floating in a river, and her friends said she didn't kill herself. But the media said she most certainly did that. There have been people who have been so concerned about like our safety and stuff. We did up on security for this time being after we get in a letter from Macron, and because of the things that we know about their network and things that are happening. Like I said, to every journalist that has tried to get this out, we are taking that seriously. But we also know that at the end of the day, it's not in the security's hands. It's in God's hands. And so I just ask everybody whether or not, to believe or not, to just pray. Okay, so somehow that's a defamatory statement. And what she's going to, we'll walk through this and then you can understand. Statements are of and concerning the president and Ms. Macron. Indeed, defendants repeatedly identified Ms. Macron. So yeah, was it about them? Absolutely. And that's one thing we had with Johnny Depp, which she's like, it wasn't about him. And it's like, it was obviously about him. The statements are false and are reasonably understood just as statements of false fact. Specifically as assertions that Ms. Macron has engaged in identity theft. This is the theme here, okay? Identity theft, has lied about her identity, and has perpetrated a directed physical violence against any individual for investigating or reporting on her, including Owens and Isabella Ferrer. So this is the theme you're going to see throughout, which is identity theft. There's no mention, and I'm going to keep going through it. There's no mention here that of directly stating the this statement is false. She claims I'm a man, I am a woman. Now, in the answer, after the claim part, it says it has I was born a woman, Macron. But you're not claiming, the claim isn't that you were born a man. It's identity theft of the brother, okay? So, which is just kind of fascinating. The statements are categorically and demonstrably false. Ms. Macron was born a woman named Brigette Macron. She has never lied about her identity. It doesn't say her gender. It never says she lied about her gender ever in this thing. She has never perpetrated or directed physical violence against any individual or investigating or reporting her, President Macron, including, okay, what? So this one's not going to work, as you just, the claim, first of all. Just outright, did she claim that she just said, look, things have happened around. And the problem you can have here is we make statements all the time, Clinton's kill list, right? Are we going to now be, and by the way, the guy that did the meme that Hillary Clinton, he did a meme about Hillary Clinton saying, go to the polls on Wednesday, and it was supposed to be Tuesday, and he got put in jail. He was exonerated yesterday. I saw he was posting that. So, okay. So I just don't believe that she said anything in there that is going to come back at her necessarily. But we'll see. Alleged brother, who I believe. See, this is I believe. It doesn't say that she is. It's just, I believe that she's Brigette Macron is. These are little statements, and I wish Candace had been. Had scripted everything to get around this so that this lawsuit didn't happen, but it did. Okay, so that's the first one. They talk about demonstrably false statements. It was defamatory. It's defamatory per se, and people who heard them understood them to be, why is this one per se? See, this kind of stuff will get knocked out because without reference to extrinsic evidence and viewed in their plain and obvious meaning, they accuse President and Ms. Macron of crimes. Now, this would have to be defamation by implication. Sorry, you're not going to get per se off of this, which is out and outright. The statement itself was defamatory. It just says like, look, people have been disappeared, or the news said one thing, this other person. So I don't believe that. Okay, some recapping on this, some additional language. I just want to get to the counts and what they have. Now, false light, once again, exact same statements for the false light, which is just a little bit different, which is it's kind of a reputational thing. You're placing someone in a false light, okay? According to the public, that the elements are somewhat similar. It's not quite the same, and this qualifies in there. Okay, so fine, there it is. Let's see what we have. The statements aren't of concerning them. The statements are false. The statements are categorically demonstrably false. The statements are, in fact, and reasonably understood to be statements of false facts, specifically assertions that President Ms. Macron have lied about her identity, never gender. Why would you not say her gender? Why would you not say her gender in this case? They're demonstrably false, blah, blah. By publishing the statements, defendant has portrayed President and Ms. Macron in a false light because they accused their President and Ms. Macron of crimes and it cast aspersions on their identity. And they didn't do that. So let's keep going. Let's go to the next one. Count 3, defamation by implication. There you go. So now it's a little bit different. They only had 2 claims on that first statement. And then these next ones, I'm not going to go through all this out here, but well, we can take a look. Once again, it's about this Isabella Ferreira. It's about someone else. Yeah, it's the same. Actually, it is the same statements. It's just now it's eliminated one instead of a C. I think it went A and B. And so they have this one, same exact one, but now it's saying by implication. Okay, I don't know if defamation by implication, they must have that in Delaware or they wouldn't have filed it. You're implicating something on that. Okay. Once again, identity, not gender. Count 4, defamation, still the same one. Okay, so this is a different statement. I literally told you every journalist that tries to touch a story, actually goes back to this. It just expands on it a little bit. I believe Macron is born a biological male, okay, and transitioned into a female. That is my belief. I don't know how many times I can say it. Okay, easy there. And you will never, never, ever get me to transform my opinion that they were groomed by a person you eventually married in 2020, Brigette Macron. I believe she's a man. Okay, so this is one you're like, okay, well, they're definitely going to say, here we go, gender is a problem. Statements were made concerning those two. Yeah, they're actually false. They're going to have to prove that. The statements are categorically and demonstrably false. Ms. Macron was born a woman named Brigette Macron, has not lied about her identity. Now, this is where I'm a little bit confused here because Candace does say, she goes, look, they never said anything that she wasn't a man. Okay, it's like, well, they're claiming she was a woman, but that's not what they're claiming up as part of this initial section here, okay? They keep saying she has not lied about her identity. The fact is that Ms. Macron won't say gender is odd. This part of born a woman. Now, what is a woman? Okay, we may have to get into that. So I think Candace may, they never say gender. They always say identity. Maybe that's to get them some wiggle room, but they do continue to say she was born a woman named Brigette Macron, which would then make the claim that that is part of the false statement that she was actually born a man. So is Candace perhaps wrong? Maybe her attorneys there. I could see where there's some wiggle room perhaps on this one thing, but why don't you just say she has not lied about her gender? Gender is a little bit more specific, or maybe they don't like that one, or her sex. She's never lied about her sex. And then they talk about physical violence, and they go on, once again, it's the same old thing. So multiple counts here. Then now they do false light for the same one. Same exact thing, and it's just a lot of repeating. It's just, at this point, it's a lot of cut and paste. Defamation by implication for the same statements. Once again, she's born a Miss Macron's identity, implication that they killed someone. On and on and on it goes, and that's about as close as they come to saying it's a situation about her gender, which I think there's a little bit of problem. Candace is going to bankrupt paying these Frenchies. I don't know, because you've got to understand the standard for one. There is anti-slap, so she may file in there. I don't know. I would do a motion. Candace says, now I understand her husband. I think he's really super rich. So perhaps, but Macrons have to show damages, okay? That's going to be tough for them. Why? Because he still has a job. And now if this thing gets resolved before does he run for another election? I don't know. What about her? She's like old. What does she do? What does she give for money? They have to show that this is actually the case. And it's almost like all these people are just money laundering. Yeah, exactly. Like Alex Jones' lawsuit or Elon buying Twitter. Okay, all those numbers were absurd and completely arbitrary. I've lied about my sex. It's not that. Don't pronounce the G. For what? What did I pronounce the G in? Bridgette? Is that what it is? Bridgette or Ginny? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know over there, French, the ANCAP. Let me know what you're specifically talking about. A little Canadian action there. Okay, so you can go through this. By the way, there's, let me go back to this portion here. Count 13. Here, we'll let you guys enjoy the scrolling. I want to say there's 20. There's count 15, count 16, 17, and it's just taking her statements and doing the exact same thing each time, basically. Count 18, false light, count 19, 20, epilogue. False light, count 21. Count 22. So you can see this, that they have a statement, then they'll do defamation. They'll do defamation by implication. They'll do false light. And sometimes they've done two different defamation. Okay. Prayer for relief, wherever respectfully request that the court enter judgment from plaintiff's favor and against defendants jointly and severally as follows, awarding the Macron's actual and presumed damages to be specifically determined at trial. Could be difficult. Awarding the Macron's punitive and exemplary damages. Award the Macron's all cost disbursements, fees, and interest as authorized by law, and such other additional remedies as the court may deem just and proper. Now, they may not like this, but this is what I would do if I am Candace. I would see, I would want all their financial records, because you're going to be able to dig into this. Remember, you saw this with Alex Jones, right? He wasn't disclosing his financials correctly. That's why they got him on for default, because he was fucking up with his discovery. Who was one of his attorneys or lauded people? Robert Barnes. Just always throw that out there. Now, Candace Owens should request all their financials, and I would be specific as to money used for the lawsuit. Maybe, just maybe, you get them in some sort of scandal over there where they're using taxpayer money to fund this, okay? That would be an interesting thing. That would be a very interesting thing. In Tragno. Look, I have to Americanize it a bit. I appreciate Fred the French ANCAP. I appreciate the attempt to help me Frenchify anything, but we can't do it. We can't do it. Real G's moving silent like lasagna. Okay, what sound does the G in lasagna? It's silent. I don't know. Lasagna? Yeah, okay. Tron no. I can't do that. I prefer it a little bit Americanized. Okay, last thing I will look at here is, so anyway, I fear for Candace. One, you never know what the courts are going to do. So I fear for her a little bit. I'm concerned. I hope it works out. I wish this wasn't happening, but it does give us something to look at. And I hope she has good attorneys that are trying to help her out, because it feels like she is doing kind of one of those things that you see with people where they're like, oh yeah, well then fuck you, watch this. And then they say even more outrageous things. Next thing you know, you're just, Tronu. Okay. La Zigna is, like Ricada in his defamation. He just kept doubling down, and next thing you know, it's, instead of it going away, it's problematic. This was one I found off of Volk Conspiracy, which is through the Reason magazine. May a guardian get a divorce on behalf of a mentally incapacitated adult? Now, I actually have the judge's ruling here, but I'm not going to read through all that. I ain't reading through all that. Let's do this short excerpt here from the long majority in the matter of Benavides by Justice Jeffrey Boyd. Marriage predates and transcends our law and will post-date our law, I expect. Okay. A woman appointed as guardian for her elderly father moved him out of the house he shared with his fourth wife. By the way, don't ask me how I got on this, but because I'm watching old TV while I work, like just stupid stuff that I don't have to really pay attention to. I'm watching The Renegade. If you've watched that, it's a show that started, I want to say 1993 and went for till 97, somewhere 98 maybe. Lorenzo Lamas on there. It's a ridiculous show. Bobby Six Killer. It's anyway, it's your stupid 90s. Chicks are always big titties and in bikinis. And he's always without a shirt for some reason. But I happened to look him up because I was looking at some chick that was on the show, and then that was his wife. They divorced like right when they started the show, and she was still on there for like 4 years. He's been married 6 times. I mean, at some point, people, get it together. A woman reported a guardian for her, house shared with his fourth wife and later filed for a divorce on his behalf on the ground that the couple had lived apart for more than 3 years. The trial court granted the divorce, and the wife appealed. The wife appeals, arguing that Texas law does not permit a guardian to sue for divorce on her ward's behalf. We need not definitively decide this issue to whatever extent the Texas Estates Code may allow a guardian to seek a divorce in her ward's behalf, if it at least requires the guardianship and divorce courts to find that permitting the divorce would promote the ward's well-being and protect his best interests. Because neither court made the finding in this case, and because of the ward's death, neither can do so now. We reverse the Court of Appeals judgment, vacate the divorce decree, and dismiss. Interesting. Carlos C.Y. Benavides Jr. was a wealthy patriarch of one of Laredo's oldest and most powerful clans. Okay. Carlos married his fourth wife, Leticia Russo, on September 11, 2004. Why would you get married on September 11th? They each signed a premarital agreement, prenup, and a postmarital agreement in which they stipulated that no community property would ever be created during the marriage, and that each spouse's separate property and any income it produced would belong solely to that spouse or his or her estate unless one transferred the property to the other by will or other written instrument. Yeah, and by the way, I would imagine the fact that they did a post-nup just reiterated and it emphasizes their intent of this. So I'm hoping, I'm first time I'm reading this too. We'll see if it holds up. About 7 months after Carlos and Leticia married, Carlos filed for divorce, the first divorce proceeding. About 5 months later, a year after they married, and while the divorce proceeding was pending, a physician diagnosed Carlos with dementia. Carlos did not pursue the divorce, and the trial court dismissed the first divorce proceeding for want of prosecution in February 2007. Some courts will do that. You have so long, here it's typically 5 years. If you're not doing anything and you don't follow along certain things, they will just dismiss the case out of hand. But this was, I don't know, that doesn't say when they first did it. Leticia asserts that Carlos changed his mind about wanting a divorce. Carlos's adult daughter from a prior marriage, Linda Cristina Benavides Alexander, contends that Carlos wanted the divorce but was unable to pursue it because of his quickly worsening dementia. By the end of 2007, Carlos had signed documents adding Leticia's name to his bank accounts, designating the accounts as joint accounts and with right of survivorship. She's not doing good. Conveying an office building to Leticia and identifying both spouses as borrowers on a loan to refinance their residence. Leticia asserts that Carlos gave her, quote, full authority, unquote, over his accounts and repeatedly told her to todo lo mío es tuyo. Okay, I'd understand it better if it was pidgin. All that I have is yours. Linda contends that to the extent Carlos in fact did or said any of those things, he did so only because Leticia took advantage of his mental incapacity. The ensuing disputes between Linda and Leticia have led to numerous lawsuits and appeals. Now, this is the article writer says this, an interesting concurrence by Chief Justice Jimmy Blacklock, joined by Justices John Philip Devine and James Sullivan. Okay, let's keep going here. The marriage relation in itself is natural. The prescribed impediments and the forms of law for its legal consumption are artificial, being the framework of government. The nature of marriage is such that cannot be created except by the consent of the parties, cannot be dissolved except by consent and intelligent exercise of the will of the parties. That is to say, that no matter what or how many valid grounds for divorce exist, it is only by the decision and the will of the party aggrieved that no action for divorce may be brought. The parties disagree on whether a guardian may obtain a divorce on behalf of a ward who lacks the capacity to intelligently seek an end to his marriage. The court prudently declines to definitively answer that question because answering it turns out to be unnecessary to the disposition of this case. I do not object to the court's silence, and I join the court's opinion in full judgment in full. I write separately and with the following observations for the consideration of future cases. The traditional view is that an exercise of the will is an essential element of both marriage and divorce. It follows from this traditional view that a guardian cannot obtain a divorce on behalf of a ward who cannot intelligently exercise his will to divorce. As the court observes, some jurisdictions continue to hold the traditional view, while others have abandoned and modified it by authorizing guardians to obtain divorces on behalf of incompetent wards to varying degrees. The court does not articulate Texas law's answer to that question, neither does the Family Code. That does not mean there is no answer. Although I agree that this court's articulation of the answer should await a case in which the answer is necessary to the judgment. How long does the fucking thing go? Do I want to read this whole fucking thing? Holy shit. I didn't realize it was this long. Let's get to the answer. For many people, marriage is primarily a spiritual matter, not merely a legal one. And therefore, a man may leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife. They shall become one flesh. Quite obviously, courts are not well suited to judge the spiritual benefits of marriage or divorce on behalf of an incompetent person. And for everyone, regardless of religion, marriage is a uniquely personal matter. This is why the traditional rule holds that the decision to begin or end a marriage must be made by the individual people involved in the most intimate of human relationships, not by third parties or like guardians and judges. Texas appears largely to have followed the traditional rule for most of our history. Then, in 1988, this court in Wallenmeyer v. Wallenmeyer stated, without elaboration or analysis, quote, that a guardian ad litem or next friend can exercise the right of a mentally ill person to obtain a divorce. Wallenmeyer does not grapple at all with the deep moral and jurisprudential foundations in the traditional rule with which it is in tension. The court does not engage with those questions again today, nor need it have done so. As the court recognizes, if the answer ends up being that a divorce may be obtained by a guardian or ward's behalf, then the fate of the world's marriage turns ultimately on the best interest determination by a judge, not the expression of a ward's desire to end the marriage. But it seems to me that whether a person will become married or will remain married are questions that are, by this very nature, impervious to the third party's best interest analysis. We're almost there, folks. In other words, whether I want to be married or whether somebody thinks I should be married are two completely different questions, and only the former has the bearing on the question of whether I am or will remain married. If an essential element of both marriage and divorce is freely expression of the human will, then when nature renders it impossible for that to be expressed, neither a judicial best interest analysis nor anything else can replace it. The thing can no longer be done. If we pretend otherwise, we are changing the nature of the thing. I am inclined to think that only the individual person can answer for himself, whether he should be married or he becomes incapable of answering the question. There is nobody else to ask. The question can no longer be answered. The courts, when properly called upon, can do our best to help manage the affairs of all involved in such a difficult circumstance with prudence and compassion, but we should not presume to answer a question that is not ours to answer. That has been the traditional majority view of the matters throughout American legal history. I find that it is a compelling view, but one the court may an occasion to adopt in the future. The court observes the recent and growing trend among American courts is against the traditional view. On this and other matters, I must choose between the accumulated wisdom of the ages and the recent growing trend among courts. I expect the choice will be easy. Kind of interesting. I don't know that they actually resolved that. What the fuck is the order here? Conclusion. We conclude that Carlos's death during the pendency of Letitia's appeal from the divorce decree did not moot the... Okay, so he died. This might have been a waste of our time, folks. Might have been. Now, let me just comment on incapacitation and divorce. I've had some cases where one of the parties is going a little bit cuckoo, and so then the other party is divorcing them, okay? And what are you going to do? Now, you can't have I've not had one halted or he's so incapacitated during that, or she, that it didn't go, able to go through. It's an interesting take. And the fact that they had two, look, there could be an instance there where they're like, oh, she wants to stay married so that she can use his money. Okay, but then who's taking care of him? Did someone say goal? Thank you, guys. There we go. Scott, it's goalie time. You've got $1.99 from JC and $5 from Scott. Appreciate that, folks. We've even got Patrick's over here on the Rumble chat. But my point on that is maybe this person is still better. Someone's got to take care of this person. And maybe she's using hers and his money to do so, right? If he's incapacitated, someone's got to be taking care of him. There's still a chance, and most jurisdictions have this, which is an elder abuse case. If she's just using the money and not taking care of him, the county can come in and do that. A guardian can come in there. His family can do this. A caretaker can do this. and raise these elder abuse issues to the spouse even, okay? You just have to have some sort of sanguinity, which could be family or, and then it carves out for caretakers and whatnot. So as far as this, I think, look, guy didn't get divorced. He went a little cuckoo before he was able to do so. I say the right move is not having a third party come involved, and because you don't know what their actions are. And if the person is taking care of them, I don't know that I have a problem with that either way. So there you go. Pseudo Snark's in the chat. Who does number 2 work for? Okay, there we go. Pseudo Snark had a comment. We just went over the Candace stuff. I'm a little bit conflicted. I see the Brigitte, her response, not specifically calling out her own gender. She does say identity, and she does mention I was born a woman. Okay, so it kind of covers the basis. It's a little odd that you don't just say bullshit. She claimed I wasn't. My gender is XY. I guess that's the question. So there we go. Okay, everybody. I've had it for tonight. We're gonna do one on Wednesday. I'm sorry, today is Wednesday. We're going to do a show on Friday. I will play some more clips. I think I may play something like Jimmy Dore. He played a whole thing about Jimmy Kimmel. We'll play some Jimmy Kimmel stuff. Anything else we have in there? Possibly. Here's what I have in my bookmarks thus far for LPR. There's a Matt Welching. I don't know what Bongino's freaking out about. This is what's fascinating. I did want to play last week. I wanted to play Kash Patel in some of the interviews. So maybe we'll do that where he was before Congress and the Senate. It's bizarre how he and Bongino are so steadfast in this Epstein stuff, and yet they don't say, I was completely duped. Here's a thing with him right here. Let's see if this even comes through, where he's talking about Epstein and he has proof.
I'm telling you, there could be some national security problems here because, ladies and gentlemen, nobody knows how much material people have on Jeffrey Epstein, who was videoed where those videos are. I was told by someone a long time ago, a very knowledgeable reporter, and it's not my information. I'm not hiding. You're hiding up for some foreign government. You're protecting. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm only telling you what I was told.
I was going to quit because I'm over an hour, but I mean, if you guys want to, throw in some money, I'll go for a little bit more. But if not, I mean, I do need to, don't do that. I do have to quit, actually. We'll finish the Bongino thing, and then we'll be out of here. Want to raid, not nice guy. Yeah, raid. I don't know how to do that. How do I do that? I don't know. Let's keep going here.
That some governments around the world may have some material that's related to the Epstein thing. Bill Clinton was knee deep in this, man. I have a very, very good source. I've told you this story. Forgive me for repeating it if you're a P1, but some people are new here and never heard this. He was on the plane with Bill Clinton and Epstein on one of Epstein's planes when Bill Clinton was on the plane with some women who, according to my source, looked underage. Why was my source on the plane? Dan, you know people who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein? No, I don't. He was working. Right? It's unbelievable. The guy killed himself, and now nobody's going to know. My buddy was on the plane and was very uncomfortable. He didn't see anything directly, but there was apparently some area in the back of the plane where everybody went to go, whatever, do their thing. My friend's not comfortable with it. They land, and he's like to the guy who's running the show, if you know what I mean, I ain't going to be part of whatever's going on this plane. And the guy who's running the whole thing says, well, you need to go home.
Get off my plane.
That's the Air Force One thing, too. It's kind of like a similar story. And he says, you need to go home. So they send him home. But he saw Clinton on the plane with Epstein in the little area with people he thought didn't look of age. I've told this story 1,000 times, and it's amazing how, because it's the Dan Bongino show where we've been right about just about everything, everyone in the media ignores it. even though this source is still out there, anyone can talk to him.
Wow. What I want to do, let's do this. You take this with me. Dan Bongino, Epstein. Let's see what he says here about this. It was in one of the interviews.
All right, we continue now with FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Dan, sorry about that technical error. All right, I was asking you, you mentioned the drone threat. You mentioned China. I mentioned we have known terrorists, known assassination squads, cartel members, gang members, drug dealers in the country. So it's worse than you thought, is what you're explaining to us. And that means you have to prioritize your manpower, including 1 million man-hours spent on immigration and finding these.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had the quotes all ready to go last time. I thought they were just ones here where he's like, he didn't. Are they scrubbing these from the internet? It was so easy to find last time. Anyway, but basically where he's just like, thanks Pseudosnark for the $5, where he's just like, he killed himself. It's not what you think, people. This is what's fascinating to me is he is so confident. We've never been wrong on the Dan Bongino show. Why do that guy talk to the deputy director now, and you guys have a collab and figure out who the fuck was buying what? This is it's one of two things. One is you're incompetent now, or you were blown smoke before and you would buy anything then. And if you bought anything then as a podcaster, who are you to say that you didn't buy everything now, right? Pretty pathetic. Maybe we'll finish off with this Jimmy Dore going here. Let's play some of this here. This is, so Kimmel, like I said, did we play some of that? I think we played Kimmel to begin with, right? We played a little bit of Kimmel about, where did it go? Yeah, we played a little bit of Kimmel. Let's keep going.
The poison control centers have seen this spike in calls from people taking this livestock medicine to fight the coronavirus, but they won't take the vaccine, which is crazy. It's like if you're a vegan and you're just like, no, I don't want a hamburger. Give me that can of Alpo instead. One of the reasons these sea biscuits are opting for ivermectin is because they don't trust Big Pharma, which is fine, I guess, except for the fact that ivermectin is made by Merck, which is the 4th largest pharmaceutical company in the world. And even Merck is telling people to cut it.
Okay. I want to play this Jimmy
He
Dore.
came out and said that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was a right-wing MAGA guy, and just completely made it up. And his job is to divide the country and keep us divided. That's what Jimmy Kimmel does. He just does partisan hackery. He does not do comedy. He's never done comedy without an applause sign above his head, so don't forget that. And here is Ben Bernanke. He's going to sum it up for you exactly what a lot of people are missing. Let's listen.
No, this is the best day of my life. No, Jimmy Kimmel got fired. That was and people are like, this is fascism because people are getting fired for what they say. And it's like, motherfuckers were getting fired for not getting an injection 2 years ago. And if you said anything about it, they would literally shut down your entire social media. But that was okay.
But that was okay. That was okay. People were getting fired. People were getting censored. People were getting their social media taken down just for pushing back against a mandated experimental medical treatment, which we now know lots of problems with it. And then they lied about it. They lied about it over and over. That's Ben Bernanke. So I think that's how you say his name. Bankes. Kurt knows him. He's very funny, hilarious. That's the part I can't get over. I can't get over people screaming about censorship of Jimmy Kimmel when what he just said is so 100% on the nose. That they would shut down people getting fired for not taking experimental medical treatments, people getting censored and shut down on social media for questioning it. But now this is what you care? When a commercial broadcaster Well, and I just want to show you the hypocrisy. You want to see the hypocrisy? Watch this. Remember how the people who are screaming about Jimmy Kimmel's being censored were cheering on censorship when it was their political opponent? Watch this.
Twitter banned the president permanently. Oh, damn! They took away his precious.
Well, Facebook upheld their ban of Donald Trump today for at least another 6 months.
It is so funny to watch the Trump supporters and the Republicans melt down over Tucker Carlson getting fired from Fox News.
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson after all these years.
Now let's remember Tucker Carlson got fired because he told the truth about the Syrian war and then the Ukraine war and then Big Pharma. That's he got fired for telling the truth, not by lying. If you lie, you keep your job indefinitely. Jimmy Kimmel's coming back tomorrow night or tonight when you watch this video. You tell lies. The View, ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox News, they all lie constantly. They lie about everything. You don't get fired for lying. You get fired for telling the truth, which is why
Trump's tweets violated Twitter policy. They said, no, we could just label it as incitement to violence anyway to get the job done.
Donald Trump's Twitter account just got suspended. Now, the first thing that we need to know is that this is very, very funny.
And even with Twitter, you cannot find actual evidence of any direct government censorship of any lawful speech.
Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content related to COVID-19 during the pandemic.
And direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable.
And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very clearly incitement of violence.
There are Americans who are engaged in kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or criminally charged would be a better deterrent.
To stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight, now that he's seen how he is perverted and slying the truth.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
I will, and we're almost done here. I will say about the last guy, Tim Walz, in the debate with JD Vance, they both made the point, oh, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Bullshit. True story. In government, police bosses loved me when I was cleaning up narratives to get the right spin for them. Yeah, so it's all a thing. Now, Ted Cruz comes out and supports Jimmy Kimmel coming back. I think Jimmy Kimmel is just trash. I don't care about really what once again, he's under the umbrella of the FCC, which is much more restrictive. I think the FCC and what the guy said, we're going to do this one way or another. It was stupid because now you gave him a chance to keep his job. They would have fired him like Colbert without cause. By the way, Pseudo Snark had a comment in here that I think I meant. It didn't come up. I don't know why it didn't come up on the other, but it said, got called a racist by a dude that was earlier called a transphobe. Fucking lib law school. Did vote no to Elon being a Nazi at lunch in a toilet stall graffiti poll. Good job. Okay, over on Rumble, I'm going to do the raid. There you go. So raided over there to Not Nice Guy. Why don't you guys confirm that? Why don't you guys go check that out? Go to maybe my Rumble and then go over to him. I'm fine with that. Don't care if they lose their jobs. Yeah, I don't. And part of it is the way that they treated us during COVID and all that. So go screw them. I don't really give a shit. Either way, everybody, I hope you have a good night. We are out of here. Back to us on Friday. We'll do a little bit more of that kind of stuff. If you have any legal issues or whatever you want to talk about, send them to me. Once again, go to tyleryonke.substack.com and sign up. You can sign up for free. Appreciate everybody that donated in tonight. Have a great rest of the week. I'm like flying on cloud 9 because I settled this case that I don't have to go to trial next week. I think I'm going to be able to take Thursday and Friday, Wednesday maybe, and go with my wife and daughters to Morro Bay, spend a little bit of time down there with them and do some work. I love y'all. Miss ya. Till next time. Do I miss you? I don't know. A little bit. We will see you. Till next time. Tyler out. And I salute you. I salute you, Tower Gang.
Never mind.